Things I hate about One Piece. Number 1, the fan service. And don't get me wrong, early on, it wasn't really a problem. It was minimal, and it didn't take away from the characters or the world. But as the story goes on, it becomes way more noticeable. The designs change, the camera angles change, and suddenly it feels like certain moments are focused more on fan service than the actual story. And the biggest issue is the timing. You can be in the middle of a serious, emotional, or even life or death moment, and then the scene gets interrupted by something that completely breaks the tone. It also affects how some characters are perceived. Instead of being taken seriously for their intelligence, strength, or role in the story, they're sometimes reduced to just visual appeal. And that's the real problem. It doesn't add anything. It doesn't improve the fights, the story, or the character development. If anything, it just distracts from what makes One Piece so good in the first place. Number 2, the pervert Sanji gag. It was actually funny, it fit his character, it added personality, and it didn't take over every scene he was in. But over time, it just got worse and worse. Instead of being a small part of his character, it became his entire personality in some moments. And the biggest problem is that it ruins serious scenes. Sanji is supposed to be one of the smartest and most reliable members of the crew, but then out of nowhere, the gag takes over and completely breaks the tone. It also makes him look weaker than he actually is. This is someone who fights top-tier opponents, makes clutch decisions, and saves the crew multiple times, but the gag overshadows all of that. And at this point, it's just repetitive, same reaction, same joke, over and over again, with nothing new added. Number 3, the Straw Hats don't get enough focus. And this is a big problem, because at the start, the story was about the whole crew, not just one or two characters. But now, it often feels like everything revolves around Luffy and sometimes Zoro, while the rest of the crew gets pushed into the background. Take Frankie. He's a genius shipwright with insane abilities, but most of the time he's just fighting random enemies or barely getting screen time. Brook had one of the best moments in Whole Cake Island, but after that, he's barely been used to his full potential. And Usopp. His dream is to become a brave warrior of the sea, but instead of consistent growth, he got one moment in Dressrosa, and then disappears again. The problem isn't that they're weak, it's that they're underused. These characters have depth, goals, and unique roles, but they're not getting the focus they deserve. Number 4, the pacing. And this is getting harder to ignore. Because the story is incredible, but the way it's told sometimes feels way too stretched out. At the beginning, arcs moved fast, you got set up, conflict, and payoff without waiting forever. But now, everything feels slowed down on purpose. A single reaction can take multiple cuts. A simple conversation gets interrupted by flashbacks, side reactions, and reminders of things we already saw 5 minutes ago. And fights, they're cool, but they drag. One clash turns into extended screaming, power-ups, flashbacks, and cutaways that break the momentum completely. Even important moments sometimes lose impact because they're stretched across so much time that you almost forget the tension. The problem isn't the story, it's the pacing. Because when everything is slowed down this much, even the best moments start to feel less intense than they should. Number 5, fake deaths. And this really destroys some of the most emotional moments in the story. Because One Piece can make you feel real sadness, and then undo it later. Take Sao in O'Hara, his death was heartbreaking. One of the most emotional flashbacks in the series. But later, we find out he actually survived. And while it's nice he's alive, it takes away some of the weight of that moment. And then there's Sabo. His death was set up as this huge turning point for Luffy and Ace's story. It was tragic, it was impactful, and then he comes back alive later in the story. The issue isn't that characters survive. It's that the story builds these emotional deaths as permanent, and then reverses them later on. So instead of trusting the impact of a death, you start wondering, are they actually gone, or will they come back later? Number 6, bounty inflation. This one is weird, because it works in one case, but breaks in almost every other. Take Dory and Bragi. Their bounty goes from 100 million to 1.8 billion over 100 years. That actually makes sense if you explain it as long-term inflation over time. But then you look at other characters, and it stops adding up. Like Brook, if you apply a similar long-term increase, his 33 million bounty would only become around 138.6 million over 50 years. Number 7. Haki. And this changed how fights work in a big way. Because early on, Logia users felt unbeatable, but the story solved that in smart and creative ways. Like Crocodile, Luffy didn't beat him with raw power. He figured out water counters sand, that was clever, or Smoker. Instead of just punching him, you could imagine fights involving wind, trapping smoke, or environmental strategies. Number 8. Devil Fruits. The biggest question I always come back to is, does a water fruit exist? Because if devil fruits already exist for fire, ice or even light, then logically, water should exist too. Maybe it can't, or maybe it will be revealed later in the story. For example, the man marked by flames creates whirlpools. That could be a water fruit power. When you really look at the system, it feels like only a small number of fruits are actually being pushed to their limits. There are devil fruits with insane concepts, like gravity or souls, but most users never fully explore what they can really do. And then there's Zoan types, which are supposed to be about transformation and raw physical evolution. But most normal Zoans just feel underwhelming. They just turn you into an animal. For example, what did Kaku's devil fruit really do? He turned into a giraffe, which feels like more of a weakness than power-up. Zoans often feel limited unless they're mythical Zoans. Some awakenings feel like they completely break the power scale, while others feel almost useless. Take Kizaru. If his devil fruit awakened fully and he could turn the environment into light. That could go two ways. Either it becomes insanely overpowered, or it becomes kind of pointless, because light already behaves like light. There's not much left to upgrade in a meaningful way. Number 9. The Unsolved Mysteries. And that's part of what makes the story so addictive, but also frustrating at times. For example, devil fruits. Where do they even come from? Are they natural, scientific, connected to human desire? The story hints at answers, but never fully explains the origin. Then there's the Will of D. It keeps appearing across major characters, but we still don't know what it actually means. Is it a bloodline, a legacy, a philosophy? Or something deeper tied to history itself, and the Void Century? 100 years of erased history that the world government is desperately hiding. We know it's important, but we still don't know what really happened in it. Joy Boy and Nika make it even more confusing. Are they the same figure? A title, a reincarnation, a myth that became real. The story keeps connecting them, but the full truth is still missing. And then there's Robin. She can read the poneglyphs, the most important pieces of history in the world. But instead of sharing everything she learns, she keeps most of it secret, which raises the question. How much does the crew actually know about the truth they're chasing? So that's my take on One Piece. But now I want to know your opinion. What's the biggest problem in One Piece right now? Pacing, power scaling, or wasted potential? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one. And if you enjoy these hot takes and breakdowns, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.